The worst rated dishes in the world. Are they all gonna be from Britain? Just kidding. I'm okay with British food. There's 100 dishes on the list. We're starting off with Japan. Is this one of those ketchup and spaghetti things? Yes, it is. Consists of soft cooked spaghetti, tomato ketchup, onions, green pepper, sausage, bacon. Sometimes they even put Tabasco sauce on it as well. Japan, are you just trying to get the nation of Italy to declare war on you right now? Then we've got afang soup from Nigeria. Is that a horse's head in Norway? I don't even know if I want to show this, but yes, it's a sheep's head. Chicken a la king from the USA. I don't even know what that is. I've actually got a lot of questions about some of these desserts. Oh, I'm surprised about Costa Rica here. Not all of these look terrible, technically. I bet you some of it is like maybe the dish was hyped up too much and just the vast majority of people didn't really like it that much. A giant pumpkin out of Armenia? It is, but it's usually prepared during Christmas season. Okay, I guess I get that. Now, see, this doesn't really look that bad. We've got Colombia making the list with just some beans, Botswana, Turkey, Georgia, Switzerland, Hungary. I'm just curious if I've tried any of this. Pizza mimosa. This is just topped with cream, cooked ham, corn, and mozzarella cheese. I mean, damn, I'll take that over the sheep's head. Again, it could be one of those things where people were just expecting more and it kind of fell flat. Brazil finally making the list. Japan again. Russia, Norway, the USA with chocolate-covered bacon. That's like the most American thing ever. I've not actually tried that. I think I'll pass. Vegetable roll out of Northern Ireland. Netherlands, Denmark, Greece, Thailand, Sweden. Thai coming in again. Oh, is this bugs from South Korea? Yeah, they are silkworm insects, basically. I'm good. I will pass. Ugh. Germany with the Zungenwurst. Thai, Vietnam, Pakistan, Latvia, France. I'm surprised we're not seeing more. Oh, Canada. Is that pineapple on pizza? Deep fried pizza with Scotland. Doesn't sound terrible. Switzerland, the Philippines. Oh, balut. That's yeah, I'm good. I might try this one day, but I'm really gonna have to build up the courage. I know I'm not ready for this just yet. It's like a fertilized egg, basically. There is a small baby bird in it. Oh, it's a duck egg specifically, so it's a duck. Spain, Iran, pizza, Cuba. Oh, poor Cuba. They don't like their pizza over there. The olive burger, Peru. Oh, you know what? This reminds me of how, like, when it comes to national cuisines, Peru is always in the top ranking as, like, well, considered to have the worst cuisine on average when reviewed by the rest of the world. It's kind of messed up. Not a massive fan of Peruvian food either, but dang, there was literally like 3 Perus in a row. South Korea, Kosovo, Spain. Wasn't a fan. I love Spain. I love visiting there. Not a fan of the food that much, though. Pizza cake from Canada. Dang, what are they doing with pizza up there? You're throwing pineapples on it. You make pizza cake. What else? Well, I'm not surprised. So many pizzas on here. I think that really offends people when you mess up pizza. The Luther burger, Portugal, Italy, the Czech Republic, Indonesia, Israel. So a couple of these people are now, like, for the first time entering the list. Deviled kidneys from England. Bangkok, Ghana. We are not seeing much out of Ping. What in God's name is that? Please don't tell me that's spider. Yes. Yes, it is. I only knew that because I have heard of this dish before. It's pretty infamous out of Cambodia. Frog-eyed salad out of the USA, coming from probably my family back in Alabama. Oh, this is this is pasta with like strawberries in it. Finally, top 20. Oh wow, for New Zealand, Switzerland, Indonesia, Spain, Portugal, China, Thailand, Japan. Rice burger. Oh my goodness, they're making the buns out of rice. Iceland with something similar as we saw earlier. That's like a sheep's head, I'm guessing. A lot of Thai dishes on here. Iceland, Spain. Oh, those are eggs, aren't they? Oh no, thank goodness. Those are just beans, I guess. Doesn't look all that appetizing, but poor Chile. That looks just like a biscuit. Ramen burger out of the USA. I haven't tried this yet. Wow, so Japan and the USA doing weird things with each other's food. Jellied eels, of course. England is making the top 5. And it's Spain. This only confirms I don't know what it is. I'm just not a fan of Spanish food. I have not found a Spanish dish that I like. I visit Spain, I enjoy it. I just eat Mexican food. It's just like probably so offensive. I don't care. I love Mexican food. Sweden in the 3rd spot with Karlsgrove. Oh, it's just a calzone pizza stuffed with hamburgers and French fries. This is almost just offensively American. It's like they said they wanted to make like the most stupidly American dish. Still, I'll take that over the fried spider. Spain's making the 2nd, and then finally Finland with blood clot. Oh, this is that's like a giant blood clot. It's a dumpling made from barley or rye flour, but not always, grated with raw potatoes with blood added, usually made out of reindeer apparently. You know, I don't think I was fully aware how disgusted I would be after reviewing that post, but here we are. A lot of hate for blood sausage and for Spanish baguettes. Rice burger, Neapolitan pasta, they're not even that bad. Finally, a list of negative things that doesn't include Mexico. Did you notice that? Not a single dish, which there's definitely things that maybe could have made the list, but glad nothing did. Speaking of Mexico, the new Mexican president just recently showed a map of Mexico back in the 1700s. This was probably a rebuttal to to Trump, as Trump is trying to take possibly Canada, Greenland, and Panama over. And as we know, Mexico used to be very large back in the 1700s. They used to control a lot of now U.S. states, from California to Colorado to all of Texas. Obviously, the Mexican Empire was very large. This woman just got into office down there too, and this really skyrocketed her poll numbers. I'm pretty sure like some crazy, like she's got an 80% approval rating or something. 100 days into her presidency, and her approval rating is higher than ever before. Thick California. I like that this leaves Quebec alone. As a Quebecese dating a Mexican, that's a lovely alliance of nations. Well, you are both Latino Americans, even if they don't want to say you are. Latin American maps love just including the Spanish and Portuguese parts of these continents, but French is Latin too. She did decide to do a little bit of trolling. Also love that it's the continent back before we really knew what the continent looked like, hence the very thick American land up here. The UN's vote every year to stop the embargo against Cuba. This is starting in 1992, which that's an important date. This is after the Cold War had ended. Obviously, the embargo started during the height of the Cold War when Cuba went communist. So as you can see, extremely quickly, even just by 1996, 4 years later, most of the world's like, yeah, it's fine, we can end the embargo. And at that point, there was not that many communist nations left. Crazy that even in 1992, though, only 3 countries were voting to not end the embargo. That is the USA, Romania, and Israel. The purple nations obviously decided to not vote. Yellow is kind of not voting too. It's abstaining. There's a difference there. Now, as we enter into the 2000s, even like major US allies are like, yeah, let's probably stop the embargo here. There's like random nations that decide to maybe abstain sometimes, but that's the most they're gonna get. They're actually getting is that 4 no's? Where's the other no? Singapore, one of the micronations in Europe. Israel here. Literally, the map doesn't really change for, oh, wow, the US abstained in 2016 and then went back to no in just the only nation to no. Ukraine now because closer. Brazil, whoa. And here we are here in 2024. Crazy to me that the US is still embargoing Cuba. I gasped when the US itself abstained. Uzbekistan was hated on Cuba in the 90s, huh? Probably trying to westernize after the fall of the Soviet Union. The annual pointless vote by the UN. And it's crazy because you don't really have to go that far back in history where the US and Cuba actually had very good relations. The Americans even controlled this island up until 1902. I always think about The Godfather 2 when their setting is in the 1950s and they're literally in Cuba. It was chill back then until the 60s. What do you call the city of Istanbul, Turkey? I'm speaking English, and as you can see from this map, most of these European languages are referring to the city as Istanbul, not by the Greek name of Constantinople, which obviously this is the only dark blue part. Well, there's also Cyprus as well. Now, if you speak a Slavic language, you might call it Istanbul or sometimes Tsar-e-Grad, which I feel like you would see that city named somewhere in Russia, but I guess not. This is a very important historical city. It's had so many historical events, sieges even. The light blue countries are very interesting though. They say Istanbul, but they sometimes still refer to it as Constantinople. So that's Romania, Moldova, and then Georgia. Turkey does not like that. They do not want you to call Istanbul Constantinople. They made that a very big deal. I've never heard anyone in Russia call Istanbul Tsargrad. That's something from ancient history books. More often, it's simply called Stambul. Greek people keep the beef alive. Don't know about Georgia, but in Romania, no one calls today's Istanbul Constantinople. Even old New York was once New Amsterdam. Why they changed it, I can't say. People just liked it better that way. I am thinking about this song. Oh, that's where that line came from. I see. I did not know this song was made in the 1990s. I thought it was like 1950s. But yeah, the big change happened in 1930. Has Russia ever been at war with your European country? There's a whole lot of yeses on this map. But then again, if you do the same thing for France or Spain or definitely the British Empire, you'd see a lot of yeses as well. What's impressive though is that a lot of these European countries, specifically in Eastern Europe, have only been around for a couple decades. Ukraine, the Baltic states, Kazakhstan. When did they go to war with Kazakhstan? So basically, I'm referring back to when the Soviet Union collapsed, dissolved. Basically, when the countries got their own independence and the Soviets just became Russia up here. So the wars involving Kazakhstan and the Russians refer more to the Russian Empire before the Soviet Union and the conquest of Central Asia. Crazy, they've been at war with almost all the Nordic region, excluding Iceland, because, well, Iceland's lucky they're an island. Surprised they haven't been to war with Belgium just yet, but Belgium is a relatively new country. Ireland was occupied by the British Empire for a while there. You can maybe, you have to put a no there, but the Irish and Russians definitely fought at some point in history. They've been at war with Croatia Croatia, like World War II, I'm assuming, but then there's also Yugoslavia. They were not at war with all these states that are formerly part of Yugoslavia, and no Albania either. Kind of hard to go to war with the microstates of Europe. That's Monaco, Andorra, Vatican City, San Marino, Liechtenstein. Wait, they've been at war with Switzerland? That's got to be dating back for a while. I wish there was a world map version of this. Ah, there is. Basically, they've been at war with pretty much every single neighbor, unsurprisingly. This is really why I wanted to see this, because, you know, obviously they went to war with Japan for a little bit there, Korean Peninsula, Mongolia, I'm assuming that's from way back in history though, Iran, Syria. So some of these are classified as fought in, maybe not necessarily at war with the state itself. So this map is actually not showing that Russia's been at war with Spain or Portugal. Wait, this doesn't make any sense. The Russians have definitely been at war with the British Empire. I don't know how much we can really trust this thing, but this map is only showing countries where Russia or the USSR invaded. Yeah, big difference between being at war and invading. Russia's getting a lot of yeses here, but keep in mind some of these yeses were more, they were on the defensive, because again, we're dating back like 2-3 centuries, some was even longer ago than that. This is a much better way to look at it. In Europe, everyone has been at war with everyone, and if you haven't yet, it's just because your country hasn't been around for as long of a time, or basically you were occupied by another country during that whole time. Russia should be in green because of the Russian Civil War. They have been at war with themselves. Also, Spain might not need to be included unless for some reason you're talking about French occupation during the Napoleonic Wars. You could make this map for any country in Europe. That's what I was talking about. Did I miss the Swiss-Russian War? The coalition wars in the early... Okay, so that also comes back to Napoleon. Anyways, yeah, everyone's got different definitions for this thing. You gotta be careful when looking at maps like this. It's usually not as black and white. Here is the Danube's river population density. This is an extremely important river to the continent of Europe. It's also been in the news a lot lately because, well, Ukraine borders the Danube too, and this river chain connects to Romania, Serbia, Bulgaria, Austria, Hungary, Germany. So starting up in Ulm, Germany, there's about 30,000 people that live by this river. By this river could be 50 kilometers either way, though, stretching to Regensburg, then Vienna in Austria with 2 million people. This is really where, okay, then Bratislava in Slovakia, going to Hungary in Budapest, Novi Sad, 300,000 people, Belgrade, almost over 1 million. Yeah, the river's population density definitely gets less and less as it gets closer and closer, obviously, to the Black Sea. It gets harder to support, like, bigger populations out this way. And basically, this is where it drains out into the Black Sea. But yeah, starts here up in these Alps and then makes its way over through the Balkans, and then bam, Black Sea. Got the Mediterranean here. You can also navigate this river, which is very important for landlocked countries like Austria and Hungary. Not as landlocked as you might think. Now do the Nile. Yeah, can you imagine? Very cool. Surprised at everyone why there's no large city at the outlet like in so many other rivers. Perhaps it was a continually raided and people decided it wasn't a good place to settle. Danube Delta is very marshy, which is a challenge for constructing things. Yeah, I'd like to see more rivers displayed like this. How big is Greenland actually? Because obviously it appears massive on the Mercator map projection. One thing I really like about this post is it doesn't just show Greenland against one continent. It shows them actually against all of them. So you really get to see all the differences. India is about 1.5 times bigger than Greenland. Okay, so I realize that a lot of people think Greenland is bigger than it actually is, but I'm really surprised that Greenland is almost the size of India. That is shocking, especially because India has almost 1.5 billion people and Greenland only has about 60,000 or less. How is that possible? This really does it justice. Australia is about 3.5 times bigger than Greenland. That's a crazy adjustment there. I just didn't think that Greenland was that size of India. If you compare it to Europe, it's crazy. Europe is about 5 times bigger than Greenland. Never compare anything to Africa. Africa is always way bigger than your mind can comprehend, even my mind, and I look at maps for a living. Africa is about 14 times larger than Greenland. It's just barely taller than the nation of the Congo alone. Yeah, Africa is a massive continent, and the projections always make it look like it's so tiny. Wow, South America is about 8 times bigger than Greenland. Then realize only 2 Bolivias make up a Greenland. Finally, the US is about 4.5 times bigger than Greenland. Wait, so if we actually did make Greenland the 51st state, it would become the biggest, right? I'm fairly confident. Yep, and it's a pretty good size bigger, almost an additional 200,000 squared miles bigger than Alaska. That is quite the difference, although obviously they have 2 drastically different shapes. Still insane because Alaska has like 4 times or 5 times the population than Greenland does. I feel like when we do like the true size of countries or islands or continents like this, it should be done and displayed like this. I like the multiple different things to look at all throughout the different continents. It's still huge, just not as big as maybe the projection makes it out to be. Not as big as the entire continent of Africa, obviously. All my homies hate the Mercator projection. And a big old thanks to my patrons. I stole Drew Durnil's Robux and won't return them until he plays Cartwright into Drew Durnil. Alexander
Drew's
the
Argentinian Grandpa.
I'm back, boys.
aPhatNarwhal.
Connor, I will literally revive Megan. Fredrik doesn't realize Imperial Japan flag is the same as modern Japan flag.
NordTyrol.
Tambre, the Mexican 760.
ZaneyBoi.